Good afternoon, everyone. I'm your host, Dakota Ray. I'm so excited to have Cale with me today on our foodie stage. Woo!
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us on CreatorQon. I think there's so much people can learn and want to know about you, and of course, can kind of take tips and insights. So let's jump in.
Let's do it.
Who is Cale? Who is Cale?
I'm a person with many different hats. I'm a food creator, I'm a children's book author, and a marketing director by,
I
by
love
day.
it. Okay,
Yeah,
good. So you're a food creator and you work in the marketing space. You still have your corporate.
I do. Yes.
You haven't dove all the way in. So cool. I think it's great to show that because I think a lot of people sometimes go, it's all or nothing. It's got to be one or the other.
There's
Yeah,
definitely some overlap in sort of what I do, and then it can apply to sort of the content sometimes. So yeah, it works. Yeah.
I love that. I think that's great. And also knowing for people like, okay, if you want to be in the creator space and work with brands and, grow social, you can and also still have a job and work in the field. And it doesn't need to be all or not, right?
Exactly. And I never want to over leverage myself to just be only in the food space because if things go south, it's nice to have that sort of foundation to kind of help you.
Absolutely. And so you're known as Eat with Kale. Yes?
Right. Yes. Yes.
That's your handle. So why did we decide that handle? Why did we decide that name? Like, why did that work for
Yeah. So pretty much like I just had this idea of like just bringing a camera around with me, seeing where I eat. And so I wanted to bring the viewers with me. So the idea with Eat with Kale is like you're watching my videos, you can come eat with me. You can go check out these recommendations that, I have and, it's kind of like we're eating together. We're building a sort of community.
Okay. Okay. So why food? Like, did you have a passion for this before, I'm assuming? Do you cook or did you like why diving into this?
Yeah, I've always been a foodie. I just didn't know it. So I used to work at a PR agency, and people would always bring their lunches, but I was near a place called Granville Island. And so
Okay.
I'd always go out and go to the market, and I'd come back with like squid skewers, like barbecue squid skewers, like fancy salads. And everyone's like, where are you getting all this food from? And so I'd always find myself just like always wanting to eat good food. It just makes me happy. I come from a Jamaican family, and food's a big part of our sort of upbringing. Things like
Yeah.
cooking Afghan saltfish for breakfast, and having family dinners around stew peas and rice. So these are things that just kind of drove me towards food.
I love that. I'm also Jamaican, half Jamaican.
Cool, nice.
So
All
I get
right,
it's the best food. I'm biased, baby, but it's
me
the
too.
best food.
It hits my soul different when I eat Jamaican food, so like I'm a little biased for
Do you
sure.
see? So it's funny. I was going to ask you, it leads us in, what is your favorite food?
Yeah, I'm like I said, Jamaican food, so we can go oxtail, we can go ackee and saltfish with some fried dumplings, we can
Okay.
do jerk chicken. I'm good for all of it.
There we go. There we go. So, what city? I know on your social you show kind of different cities in your highlights that you've been to. What city has the best food and why?
Oh, wow, that's a tough one. Okay. So if we're talking Jamaican food, Toronto's got it. I mean, you have Kensington Market, you got all the good stuff there. When it comes to things like, Asian food, Indian food, I think Vancouver's got a really good scene here.
Okay.
So it really depends on the kind of food you're looking for. If
Okay.
I want a great burger, honestly, I love Winnipeg. Winnipeg's got great burger scene.
Oh,
Every year they have something called Le Burger Week, and every restaurant kind of creates their own unique burger, and they kind of like have a competition. So very good burger city in Winnipeg.
okay. I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
don't think I've ever been to Winnipeg.
yeah,
Maybe I need to do that.
for
And
sure.
burgers. So let's talk about it. You've decided to focus obviously on food style content. People talk a lot about, niches. Ooh, leaning into a niche. Should we do that? Pros and cons. Why did you decide that it made the most sense for you?
Yeah.
Why did you decide to dive into that niche?
So I've been a big consumer of food content from creators like Anthony Bourdain, like Eddie Huang, Mark Wiens, Strictly Dumpling. These are all people that I just watch religiously on YouTube. And, and when Bourdain died, I was actually on a solo trip in Italy, and I was kind of channeling him. And I remember sitting in a cafe in Italy, seeing the news that he passed away, and it left like this big sort of open vacuum in the foods content that I wanted to see. And
Right.
so that eventually led me to be like, well, why don't I just make my own content? And I'll never be at his level, But maybe if like a whole bunch of us can all create like some smaller accounts, we can try to fill that void, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, cool. And I guess how did you get started in the creating content space? So one day you wake up and say, "I'm going to make an Instagram account and start, doing this." Like, what happened? Why did you decide to get into it?
It was a need born from my career. So in marketing, I had to develop my video skills for the company that I work for. But instead of taking courses and going to school, I talked to a lot of video creators and people who made short films, and they said if I had 10,000, I wouldn't put it towards necessarily going to film school. I would take that and invest into my own short film because you learn so much more just in the doing of it.
Exactly.
And so I decided instead of taking courses, I'll be like, I've always kind of wanted to start a food channel. Maybe this is the time where I could learn to help supplement my skills at work.
Yep.
And it kind of just spun from there because people started enjoying it. And I was like, wow, this is kind of fun. So
Okay, good. Were your first videos that you made to your videos now night and day?
night and day, I was so nervous. It was hard for me to film in public. So when people are looking at me, I was like kind of getting in your own head. But that goes away after repetition. And when you have a bad shot because you were nervous at someone looking, you'll remember next time, like, I rather get embarrassed now to get a good shot than let this one person think different of like impress this one person, but get the shot that I don't like and my video sucks. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Okay, cool. So I know you've worked with a lot of food brands. So this is exciting, right? People want to collaborate with food brands, work with food brands. What have you learned in working with food brands? What do they really want to showcase in the content? Like what have you taken away from brands, either goods and bads?
Yeah, yeah, totally. They're very particular on their campaign, so it's always good to have a vision of what they want to achieve with their campaign,
Yeah,
but they also want authenticity. So, it's best to like find out what they're working with, but also to inject your own personality and your own style to it. And sometimes there's going to be a tug of war. Like what they want in the end may be a little different from your vision, but you have to remember you're making content for them, so it's at the end of the day what they want.
exactly.
So you're kind of walking that sort of balance of like keeping authenticity, but also providing for the brand.
That fine line, right? So I think it's because brands want you to do your own thing, but then they
Right.
also want it to hit the objective.
Yeah. And they'll have a lot of corporate messaging that you got to jam in there. And that sometimes can make it challenging.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, cool. So when you're working with brands, I guess, have you, I guess what advice would you give to creators who are wanting to work with brands that are in the food space? What can they do with their content to stand out, or what can they do just generally to kind of show uniqueness?
Yeah. So there's a few things. Try not to be so much of a brand risk. I know, people want to jump in and say controversial things and it gets views, right? But maybe brands may not want to work with someone who's very wild. And so it's finding that balance between like, we want to be authentic, but you also have to be brandable.
Exactly.
Also, yeah, just working on your own sort of community. Like once you start building your community, I think that's the most important because comments and things like that are what really drive the algorithm.
Okay.
And so I think brands really want to see not someone who bought their followers, but someone who's authentically grown their community and they have a vibrant, active comment section and likes and everything.
Okay, so let's talk about the comment section. Do you spend a good amount of time there? How much time do you spend in the comments?
A ton. So I call it kicking the hornet's nest. So when I put out a video, I'll get like a bunch of comments come through. And so kicking the hornet's nest is I'll just go through and respond to everyone, negative or positive.
Okay.
And how you deal with the negative comments is also its own strategy, right?
Okay.
You don't want to be too aggro. You want to be just enough that like it disarms them, but you don't want to be too confrontational. And I find like it always turns them from a hater to like either a follower or it just completely disarms them. But what happens there is that you're now building comments in the comment section from all these different engagements. And I find the videos tend to perform a lot better once the comments are going.
Interesting. Some people spend no time in comments.
It's an underutilized thing. And it's like also people, so when no one comments on my video, I think that's a failure because I don't think anyone was enticed enough by the video or impacted enough to even care. So when
Believe me.
people are commenting, it tells me that something in my video either struck them the wrong way or the right way. But I'd rather them feel good or something negative than nothing at all.
True, true. Interesting way of looking at it. I like that. So let's talk about the food content on IG versus TikTok. You have both platforms. Talk to me a little bit about Do you strategize on where to post? Do you post on both platforms? Do you cross post? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I post on multiple platforms. We'll include YouTube in there as well because that's been a very good one. But I find for some reason TikTok's blowing up for me. Uh, and then Instagram, to be fair, I repurposed an old personal account and then re turned it into a food account. For
Okay.
some reason, the videos don't perform as well on the Instagram, but that could just be by design, or I don't know if I've been shadow banned or something. But yeah, I just find the content's very different. Or sometimes a video won't perform on TikTok, but it'll perform on Instagram.
Mm,
So I think having the cross promotion across your different platforms is good because one video on one platform may not perform, but it may perform on the other ones.
right. Well,
And
that's
it's sometimes hard to figure out which one will
yeah.
do.
Yeah. Is there a, so you haven't necessarily figured, like, you don't create a video and go, I'm going to put this just on YouTube. Like, you'll put it everywhere and see how it goes.
Yeah, but it's a slightly different strategy for each one. Like
Okay.
even in terms of like hashtags. So like the hashtag strategy on TikTok is a little different than the hashtag strategy on say Instagram
Okay.
and even YouTube Shorts. So for instance, I find with the YouTube hashtags, it's about categorizing your video so the algorithm can pick it up. And so when you flood it with too many hashtags, it doesn't know how to categorize your video and you'll just be thrown into like TikTok, the abyss. Whereas
Interesting.
like you can get away with a lot more hashtags on Instagram, I find.
Okay.
So that's just a little thing. When I found it, it was a really big improvement when I used less hashtags, but more targeted to my video on TikTok.
Interesting. And on
Yeah.
TikTok. Okay. I'm liking these hashtag tips. You,
Yeah.
sometimes I have no idea what's going on with hashtags. I'm like, do people know what's going on with hashtags?
Well, it'd be nice if these social media companies would give us a blueprint of like our algorithms updated. Here's how you hit it, right? But it's
Exactly.
not
But
always that clear. Yeah.
they're not sending that over to us. I know that you, I'm going to go back to IG. I know that you use thumbnails in a lot of the content. Do you think that's benefiting you? Is it helpful? Is it more for aesthetics or is it actually helping, the reels and the views?
Yeah, for sure on YouTube, the reels, because people will see the thumbnail before they click. And so that's one thing that's probably good to have, but also just for aesthetics.
Okay.
Like, say if you're on TikTok, someone goes, likes your video, goes to your account, there are some people who are going to be drawn in by the aesthetics of your grid. And so it's worth investing in to capture those people. But there might be people who don't care, just want to see you or might see your food recommendation. So I think it's best to maximize your brand in every aspect so you
Yeah.
can capture all these different groups.
Makes sense. And I guess what's been the platform for you that's been the most successful? I don't know how you deem successful. Is it based off follower counts or engagement or views? But what platform do you think you had the most success on and why?
Yeah, I would say probably TikTok right now. TikTok, yeah, there's lots of engagement on there and also YouTube. So for me, success is defined more in the content I create. So I've always been a fan of long form content over short form reels
Yeah,
because I find when someone watches, say 100 people watch a 10-minute video I made rather than, you know, 10,000 people seeing a 30-second reel. I feel much better from the 100 people seeing the 10-minute video I made because I put so much heart and soul and production into it,
that. Yeah.
to make that food travel video. So it means so much more to me when people watch the long form.
Nice. So YouTube is like you feel best about that in terms of just
Yeah,
okay.
it scratches my creator itch, and then I do the reels and things for the community and everything else.
Okay.
But my biggest heart is into like the long form food content.
Okay. Makes sense. So talk to me about why do you think people follow you? Is it strictly for food content or generally? Because I have this conversation a lot with brands and they go, oh, foodie creators, it's just foodie people that follow them. And I'm like, well, not necessarily. Like other people, because I wouldn't consider myself a foodie, but I still follow people who do foodie content. So curious to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, different groups. So one thing about my content is I go to different mon pa ethnic restaurants. So I'll go to that little banh mi sort of stand. I'll go to the El Salvadorian pupusa family run spot. And I find every time I go to those places, I get new followers from those different communities because people are very passionate about their food culture.
Yep.
And so if you cover like a Vietnamese spot, like I get a lot of Vietnamese people adding me and they go, "Oh, this is amazing."
Nice.
I did an indigenous restaurant, and like the indigenous people were so proud to see their food on display, and the engagement was insane. They're all so happy to see it. So I really love that.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, I think it's like it's interesting about like, again, in the foodie niche, is it people who are just like also foodie creators or is it like regular day everyday people like me wanting to kind of see what you're up to? So I always kind of go back and forth with brands about that when
Well,
selecting
also, yeah,
creators.
like travel, people who travel to Vancouver for the first time, right? So
Yeah,
they're looking for food recommendations and
true.
they won't know where to go. So yeah, I have people over there as well. Other food creators, so I do collabs with other creators just for fun.
Yep.
And I find other creators just kind of reach out and be like, hey, I love your content. We should collab one day. Like it's
Let's do
yeah,
it.
so
So
yeah.
let's talk about that. So collaborations with creators. Some people stay away from that. I don't understand it. I think it's great to your point of like dipping into each other's audiences as well as just like learning new things and do what are yeah, why would you recommend this to others, to other young creators?
So really, my mission was to always support restaurants and the industry. And so I think all of us play an important role as foodies to give these small mom and pop businesses promotion because they can't afford it themselves.
Yep,
And so I think it's not like a crab in the bucket situation. It's like we're all a rising tide lifts all ships. Like if I work with you and we both build our base up, our followers, you're going to go out and promote more businesses that I may not have promoted. And so like it just builds this ecosystem of foodies that are working together, creating great content for these restaurants for people to try. So I
absolutely.
think we all win in the end.
Okay, beautiful. And so, talk to me a little bit about if you were to give advice to a young creator starting up who wanted to only launch one platform, what one platform would that be and why? I know people are going to go everywhere, but I want to hear from you. What do you think the one is that would set them the most up for success to start off?
It's a good question. I personally would probably go YouTube looking back.
Yeah,
Just because a lot of these other places aren't guaranteed. And of course, YouTube isn't either, but TikTok's had the recent sort of turmoil with is it getting banned? Is it this? And so I think it's worth that. YouTube's been there for a long time and, they have long form, short form. The engagement's great. So if you're getting started, that's a good spot and just diversify from there.
very true. Okay. I want to play some fun games with you
Let's do
before
it.
before we wrap up. Just a few hot takes.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so what's the most overrated food?
Overrated food, I'd have to say truffle. When you put like truffle in fries and truffle oil and all this, and all I can taste is the truffle, I'm like, you're just overcharging me for this strong truffle taste. I'm good.
I love truffle.
When it's done right, it's good. But sometimes they go a little too heavy on it.
Okay. What's a food everyone loves, but you secretly hate?
Oh my God, I'm gonna get in trouble. Nanaimo bars. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Nanaimo. Okay, everyone loves them. They're too sweet, and I just don't like them.
Not
Yeah.
it. Okay. What's a food trend that you think really needs to go away?
I think when you go buy a burger, those sort of trendy places, and they slap a brioche on it and then charge you, $20. I don't like that because like
You're over that.
it feels gimmicky. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not
Okay.
that much better.
Got it. Okay. We're going to switch to a quick this or that. We want to hear from you on this. Sweet or savory?
Definitely savory.
Okay. Why?
I have to be in the mood for sweets. I'm definitely more of like I'd rather chew on beef jerky than like a candy bar or something.
Brunch or late night snacks?
Oh, late night snacking. I'm very guilty of that all the time.
Okay. Spicy or mild?
Definitely spicy. Gotta go spicy.
And the classic pineapple on pizza?
Absolutely. Now I have a recommendation, and this is from my
Okay.
old roommate. Okay, pineapple, feta, and jalapeno pizza.
Okay. I
It's
want to give
sweet,
it a try.
it's spicy, and it's salty. It's got everything.
Okay. Well, I love it. Well, listen, Cale, thank you so much for taking the time. Wanted to have a, short and sweet chat with you so people could learn a little bit more, get some tips, get some insights. I think you've shared a lot. And thank you so much for joining us on CreatorCon.
Yeah, it's been really fun. Thanks for having me.